Yeah, I like Monty Ranger. I've always wanted to watch it. I do like their for me. I guess moving into my first thing is when it comes to this show, it's all about like the two C's, which is costume and choreography. Do the costumes look good? Does the choreography look good? Are the fights fun? Is it fun to watch the fights? Otherwise, who care? I don't tend to care about the story about these. Sometimes I do. If the story of a season is really really good, then it hooks me. But most of the time, I just like watching the fights. Um, anyway, the background to this first one is last year they canceled Super Sentai because for various reasons Super Sentai was not popular. Its viewership was down, and it just wasn't nearly as popular as Kamen Rider.
Kamen Rider.
And I will say I did give it to Jordan because I was curious to see what he said about it, but he couldn't find a working version of it. Go Jujer, which is the final season of Super Sentai. I watched the first 5 episodes of it for fun, and it is really repetitive. Like, at least the first 5 or 6 episodes are really repetitive. Anyway, so after they canceled that, they replaced it with a show called Space Sheriff Gavan Infinity. And what's interesting about this show, which is an adaptation of Space Sheriff Gavan, which we've talked about before, and he showed up in an episode of Gokaiger, I believe. He's the guy where he's got the silver armor.
Uh, Probably, maybe. I don't
If I showed you a
specifically
picture of him, you
remember.
know. But the interesting thing about this show is I didn't look into anything about it from a behind the scenes perspective, but um, Toei has really wanted to make Space Sheriff Gavan come back. They've been trying to make him a thing for years now. Like he showed up in a couple episodes of Gokaiger, which was promoting his movie, which I talked about in a previous episode. And that movie was very clearly a kind of a backdoor setup pilot for what was definitely supposed to be a new show. It had a new Gavin. He had a sidekick. It had a setup for a status quo, and then nothing came of it. And then they tried to bring him back again in another one of those superhero Tyson movies, and just for whatever reason, audiences just weren't
Feeling
engaging,
it?
yeah, with this character. Maybe because his transformation is not flashy. He just says he has his, which is a jochaku, is his catchphrase, and he does the simple henshin. It's kind of more akin to like a classic Kamen Rider henshin. It doesn't have a belt or anything fancy, and so in order to make this work for people, they looked at Gavin and went, "Let's just make it Super Sentai." And you're like, well, okay, how do you make Gavin Super Sentai? Because the big thing with Gavin is there's only one of them. Like, there can only ever be one Gavin at a time. There's only ever one Gavin. And that's what makes him unique.
So you make it into a
Um,
Sentai by changing it so that he's part of like a force.
that there's a bunch of them, yeah. And so the hook of this season is he is keeping in mind I also only watched 5 episodes of this. But as of 5 episodes, the hook seems to be that he is the Gavin for the multiverse as opposed to the universe. And so
Yeah.
they've made it full. I mean, it's sort of Super Sentai, sort of Kamen Rider in the sense that he's got a thing, like you know how every Super Sentai, every Kamen Rider, they have a thing that they put in the belt that
Yeah.
makes them, yes. So he has a thing that he puts into a gun that causes the transformation.
激動チャージ到着激動アクティベート
上着だとお前は
こっちの地球じゃ初登場だ宇宙刑事ギャバンインフィニティ
And then he has a transformation catchphrase. And the show is about getting the things. They're called Emorgens, and they kind of look like, they kind of reminded me of the memories from Kamen Rider W, which we're gonna talk about. And yeah, and it seems to be about early on anyway. As of yet, there was only 10 episodes, so it's still ongoing. It hasn't even finished yet. Oh, would you finish Monty Ranger?
If I could find a better way of watching it than what I had to experience, probably.
Fair enough. That's one of the questions we're gonna ask is would I'd also watch it, but I don't have that same issue. We're gonna both of us will say whether or not we'd watch this, finish this or watch this. That's the game. I meant to do that earlier. Anyway, so the premise of this is basically that he, Gavan Infinity, goes to different universes where there are different versions of Gavan. So he goes to one, and the first universe he goes to, it's Bushido Gavan. So it's Gavan, but he uses a sword. And then he goes to the next universe. And this episode was kind of a fun twist where he goes to another universe, and Gavan is a girl in this universe. And the entire episode, it makes you think that, like, basically each universe has a Gavan, and each Gavan has an assistant, basically. And that's because that.
And so at the end of each episode, like he's collecting them with each episode, or like they stay in their universe.
It seems like he bounces between universes, basically.
Okay.
They have a little. He's got a team of people who support him, and they're in a not satellite space station, and they're basically part of like a secret part of because this takes place in an alternate future where aliens come to Earth, and there's the space police, which is Gavan, obviously Space Sheriff, part of the space police. He's part of a secret, like, Section 13 from Star Trek, part of that, which is the multiverse shit. And so
because the way that you're describing it, it sounds less like a Sentai and more Gavan meets Kamen Rider.
Yes, honestly, it's more. The only reason why I said Sentai is because of the multicoloredness of the different versions. But yes, it's really more closer to a Kamen Rider. You're right, and it's kind of set up where he is going to. The Emorgens are getting put into each universe, and each episode is he goes to investigate where these
and teams up with a different version of
Kamen Rider. Yeah, it's honestly kind of very similar to Decade or in your case Zeo, where it's like but they're not characters that we've seen before. They're original characters, but that's the basic.
Yeah.
And so one of the universe, and honestly, it was kind of a good twist. It kind of got me. You think there's these two women, and the one of them is like the goofy kind of Sentai character, and the other one's the very serious character. And the entire episode, you think the serious character is Gavan, and it turns out that the silly one is Gavan. It's like, oh, that's clever. I didn't expect that. And then there's another episode where they go to a universe, and there's this girl who's really nervous or whatever, and her partner is an ant. Like an ant.
Like an actual ant?
Like an ant. Yeah, like an ant. And she's like, I wish I was more like him, whatever. And it gets to the ending bit where they're about to fight the bad guys of the episode, and the ant goes, Jochaku! And it turns out that he's Gavan in this universe. The Gavan is an ant.
Oh, damn.
And that actually did get me. I was like, holy shit, the ant is Gavan? That's awesome. And yeah, the choreography is good, the fights are good. It's a modern one of these shows. Like the thing that I don't know if it's drones that they're using. But I don't know if you noticed this in if you watched one of the newer. No, I guess maybe you did. No, you might have noticed it in Beast Morphers. Anyway, newer Sentai discovered like drones. Oh, I think you watched Zeo. This would have happened in Zeo, where they do the sweeping, like they do the big long fight sequences where they do the push-ins and the sweep-ins that are really fluid. And it like spins around them as they're fighting, so you get all angles of the fights, and it makes all the fights look really dynamic.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about. It happens a lot in Zeo and in 01. 01's a lot of Reiwa era. It makes it look more expensive, and it makes the fight sequences look a lot more dynamic and interesting looking, because you see it from all angles, and it doesn't just look like they're faking it. Like a lot of older, I don't know if you noticed this with the older Sentai or the older Kamen Rider, where a lot of older Kamen Rider uses fast cuts, so it distracts away from the fact that some of these guys can't actually fight, and it just makes the fighting look less interesting. Like I find, like, as Kamen Rider got newer, the fights start to look more, and Super Sentai, the fights looked more interesting because they had to hide it less, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
I don't know if you experienced a similar experience with the cinematography of these shows as you watched them.
I mean, I don't really, for most of them, I don't really, the fighting always looks silly. That's the point.
Yeah, but
So,
some of the fights in the newer seasons, in my opinion anyway, actually looks good. Like, it doesn't look silly.
yeah,
Like, it looks
some of
like
them.
competently and well choreographed. Like, yeah, like we're gonna talk about
I don't know. It's
some of
hard
the
for me to
bad
take
ones
it
later in the
seriously when
clip.
they're fighting with rubber swords. So,
Yeah, but some of the swords, they're not necessarily rubber, but they're plastic. But the fighting still, the hand to hand shit still looks good, at least in my opinion. But this is fun. I would finish this. This is good. Would you watch this?
yeah, it sounds like fun.
Right. So you hear multiverse, you're like, oh, that's an interesting.
I like a good multiverse thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Keeps it
then,
fresh, keeps it from feeling like the big thing for me that makes that sound more interesting is like, yeah, there's still a degree of status quo, but because each episode has a different
exactly.
Gavin, it
Yeah,
keeps it fresh.
exactly. And because he's a cop, and this idea is gonna come back. There's an element of mystery. Like I've discovered I like it when it's a human who's being tempted by power. That makes any sense. Like I find, and that this will be the end. But
That's the difference between a Kamen Rider versus a Sentai. Sentai, it's usually the monsters that are
yes,
coming in and
yeah,
fighting.
you're not wrong. Yes, you're wrong. Yeah, that's a valid point. That Sentai is almost always it's an alien or it's a monster or it's a whatever that is invading.
Because
Um,
they have to remove some of the complicatedness, and that's simpler for a kid to follow. Is oh, big demon from hell, bad.
bad, yeah, and it makes, and that's not to say that there aren't good armies of villains from Sentai that are fun and
Oh
interesting in
no,
there. That's not
there
to
are
say that they don't
definitely
exist.
one of the ones that I had this week. I really
Um,
like the thing that I watched from I have not seen.
yeah,
I actually like their bad
yeah,
guys. Like
exactly. They're quite good, but like I find that the more interesting Kamen Rider series anyway is when it's a human being tempted by power. Like at least that's my
depends on how it's done.
like Forze is more interesting because it's humans who are turning into and there's a mystery to
Yeah.
it. At least for me anyway.
I
That's
get what you're saying, and I think for me it depends on the context, which would lead nicely into my next
yeah,
one.
that's that. But anyway, that's Kamen Rider Infinity, and not Kamen Rider, Gavan Infinity. Hey there, everybody! It's N-Card Justin here. Let me know. Have you seen Space Sheriff Gavan Infinity? Was this something you're excited by, interested in? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. But in the meantime, if you'd like to see the full episode that this is from, our Tokusatsu, well, our latest Tokusatsu special, you click the box on the left. Or if you just want to see a random video that YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy, click the box on the right. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. We put new videos out 7 days a week. Or you can just leave this video a like. That helps us out too. We'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day, everybody.